What are the limits to ICC arrest warrant jurisdiction? Watch this space. The ICC in The Hague issued an arrest warrant for Russian President Putin, holding him responsible for alleged war crimes, including the abductions of children from Ukraine. A Kremlin spokesperson on Friday rejected the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant for Russian President Vladimir Putin, likening it to a toilet paper roll. Moscow had already asserted that The Hague-based court's move was legally void since Russia did not recognize ICC's jurisdiction. The International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant against Vladimir Putin. No need to explain where this paper should be used, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Medvedev tweeted, adding a toilet paper emoji next to it. The arrest warrant was related to war crimes, including the abduction of children from Ukraine, which accused Russian President Putin of personal responsibility. And from Bangkok Post, Putin makes surprise visit to Crimea. Russian leader attends reunification event on 9th anniversary of annexation of Ukrainian territory. Cover more on that tomorrow. From Al Mayadeen, ICC decision to arrest Putin irrelevant for Moscow. The ICC accused President Putin of being responsible for the alleged unlawful deportation of Ukrainian children. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said on Friday that the International Criminal Court's decision to arrest Russian President Vladimir Putin and Russian Presidential Commissioner for Children's Rights Maria Lvova-Belova was legally irrelevant to Russia. The decisions of the ICC have no significance for our country, including from a legal point of view, Zakharova wrote on a telegram while noting that Russia is not a party to the Rome Statute of the ICC and has no obligations under it. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov further condemned the decision, saying, "The formulation of an arrest warrant issued against the Russian head of state is unacceptable, that Russia did not recognize ICC jurisdiction, and any of its decisions are null and void from the legal point of view. We consider the very formulation of the question outrageous and unacceptable. Russia, like a number of states, does not recognize the jurisdiction of this court, and accordingly any decision of this kind is null and void for the Russian Federation from the legal point of view." This comes after the ICC's pretrial chamber announced earlier today that it issued arrest warrants against Putin and Lvova-Belova. It accused President Putin for being responsible for the alleged unlawful deportation of Ukrainian children. It also issued a warrant against Lvova-Belova on similar charges. Since its inception, the ICC has always been biased as far as the investigation of crimes and the prosecution of individuals is concerned. The West has orchestrated wars all across the global South that have caused millions of children to go hungry, malnourished, displaced, and even killed, including in Yemen, where the U.S.-led blockades caused for over 2 million children to suffer from acute malnutrition. Yet these issues have never been taken into consideration at the Hague-based ICC. Russia mocks ICC order versus Putin, no jurisdiction, from the Inquirer.net. The Kremlin said on Friday the arrest warrant issued by the International Criminal Court against Vladimir Putin was legally void, since Moscow does not recognize the Hague-based court's jurisdiction. Yet, top officials and propagandists settled with the anger at the warrant announced earlier on Friday, while members of the opposition hail the move, although Russia is not a member of the ICC. Putin's accused before the court of unlawful deportation of Ukrainian children since Russia's invasion of Ukraine beginning February last year. U.S. President Joe Biden also weighed in on the matter, saying the arrest warrant was justified. since Putin had clearly committed war crimes. Speaking to reporters, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said, Russia, just like a number of different countries, does not recognize the jurisdiction of this court, and so from a legal point of view, the decisions of the court are void. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova said the ICC's decision have no meaning, since Russia is not a party to the Rome Statute of the ICC and bears no obligations under it. And without referring to Putin by name, she said possible recipes for arrest coming from the International Court will be legally void as far as we're concerned. Russia's former president Dmitry Medvedev took to Twitter, likening the arrest warrant to toilet paper. The ICC has also issued a warrant against Maria Lvova-Belova, Russia's presidential commissioner for children's rights, on similar charges. There have been sanctions against me from all countries, even Japan, and now an arrest warrant, Lvova-Belova was quoted as saying by state news agency RIA Novosti. But we'll continue our work, she said. Meanwhile, the head of Russia's investigative committee, which looks into major crimes, ordered a probe into the ICC warrants against Russian citizens. Investigators said in a statement that the committee will identify specific individuals from among the ICC judges who made the obviously illegal decisions. Margarita Simonyan, head of state broadcaster RT, hinted that Moscow could respond militarily to any attempts to arrest the Russian president. Khan Initiative. I would like to see the country that arrests Putin by the decision of The Hague. Some 8 minutes after, or however long the flight time will be to its capital, she said on social media, ICC prosecutor Karim Khan opened the investigation into possible war crimes against humanity and genocide in Ukraine a year ago. Khan highlighted during 4 trips to Ukraine that he was looking at alleged crimes against children and the targeting of civilian infrastructure. Speaking to Agence France Presse, Khan said there were so many examples of people that thought they were beyond the reach of law. Look at Slobodin, Milosevic, or Charles Taylor, or Radovan, Goradzik, Mladic. He said, referring to a series of criminals from the former Yugoslavia and former Liberian President Taylor, who have faced justice. The ICC move obligates the court's 123 member states to arrest Putin and transfer him to The Hague for trial if he sets foot on the territory. Members of the opposition also took to social media as they hailed the arrest order on Putin. Congratulations to Vladimir Vladimirovich on his arrest in absentia. This is just the first step, said Kremlin critic Mikhail Khodorkovsky, who had spent a decade behind bars. Lock him up, tweeted activist Vladimir Milov, an ally of jailed opposition politician Alexei Navalny. Not recognized by us. In Washington, Biden told reporters that the arrest warrant makes a very strong point. But the question is, it's not recognized internationally by us either, the U.S. president said, noting that the United States is also not a member of the ICC. A Department of State spokesperson said in an emailed statement, there's no doubt that Russia is committing war crimes and atrocities in Ukraine, and we've been clear that those responsible must be held accountable. A report last month by Yale University researchers said Russia's held 6,000 Ukrainian children in at least 43 camps and other facilities as part of a large-scale systematic network. But Russia's denied committing atrocities. And from magicvalley.com, Biden can't have it both ways on ICC jurisdiction. Well, I think it's justified, President Joe Biden said of news that the International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for Russian President Vladimir Putin and Children's Rights Commissioner Maria Alexeyevna Lvova-Belova over the actions in Ukraine. The ICC's jurisdiction is not recognized internationally by us either, but I think it makes a very strong point. Here's the thing about the ICC's jurisdiction. It extends to crimes committed in countries which recognize that jurisdiction even when the alleged criminals aren't from those countries. Consider an American visiting, say, Paris, who's accused of a murder there just because he's an American. It doesn't follow that the French courts have no jurisdiction to have him arrested and tried, whether the U.S. regime recognizes that jurisdiction or not. His administration opposes ICC investigations into... Biden wants to have it both ways on that very strong point. His administration opposes ICC investigation into alleged Israeli crimes in Palestine because, as Secretary of State Antony Blinken points out, Israel is not a party to the ICC and has not consented to the court's jurisdiction, but the state of Palestine, where the alleged crimes occurred, is an ICC jurisdiction area, bringing Zionists who commit crimes there under its purview. Yeah, this is the argument that a lot of people who support Palestine make. It's that if Russia, if Russia negative towards Ukraine, then Israel negative towards Palestine, right? So finding that balance, especially for the United States, is going to be something that they're going to have to work with. Nor does it seem like that he'll reverse the Trump administration's denial of ICC jurisdiction over alleged U.S. war crimes to ICC member states such as Afghanistan. Interestingly, Ukraine isn't an ICC member state. It just selectively accepts ICC jurisdiction in certain matters. In practice, the ICC seems interested in investigating and prosecuting war crimes wherever it's allowed to, which means wherever the U.S. and EU regimes like it, or at least don't mind too much. Putin no doubt has a lot to answer for, but he's not alone. As Senator and Vice President, Biden supported the U.S. war in Afghanistan, and as president, arguably approved war crimes there, even as he oversaw the U.S. exit from the conflict, throwing himself, not to mention several of his predecessors, on the mercy of the court would make, in Biden's own words, a very strong point. If he's serious about making such points, he should ask the U.S. Senate to ratify the Rome Statute, placing himself under the court's jurisdiction as well. Very, very good point. If you believe in what the ICC and the point that they've made, then go ahead and put yourself under that same jurisdiction to see what happens. Russia does not accept ICC decision, Kremlin's major statement on Putin's arrest warrant. The Kremlin says the ICC's arrest warrant against Vladimir Putin for war crimes in Ukraine is invalid. Moscow's always denied the International Criminal Court's accusations. Despite this, the ICC's issued an arrest warrant against the Russian president. Please say that Russia is not even a member of the ICC. The International Criminal Court on Friday issued an arrest warrant for Russian President Vladimir Putin. Furthermore, the Kremlin statement has come to input regarding this ICC decision. The Kremlin said the ICC's ruling was invalidated by Russia's legal system. He said that this ICC decision doesn't matter to Russia. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Moscow did not recognize The Hague's tribunal jurisdiction. Speaking to reporters, Peskov said, like many other countries, Russia does not recognize the jurisdiction of the ICC, so according to the law, this decision of the court is meaningless. Russia is not a member of the ICC. ICC decision legally invalid. At the same time, Maria Zakharova, spokeswoman for the Russia Foreign Ministry, said the same pretty much. Maria said that this ICC decision has no significance and has nothing to do with Russia, he said in a telegram. Russia is not a party to the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court and has no obligations under it without naming Putin. Maria said Russia does not cooperate with this party, and as far as we're concerned, the arrest warrants issued by the ICC are legally invalid. The ICC is the first permanent international court in the world. The International Criminal Court is the first permanent court in the world. It's governed by an international treaty known as the Rome Statute. The Rome Statute gives the ICC jurisdiction over 4 main crimes. The ICC can use its jurisdiction in cases such as crimes of genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, crimes of aggression, arrest warrant against Lvova-Belova as well. Let us tell you that on Friday, the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant against Putin for illegally deporting Ukrainian children. Apart from this, they issued an arrest warrant for Lvova-Belova, the director of children's rights in Putin's office. Even though the ICC issued an arrest warrant, Putin can still visit big countries. Even though the ICC issued an arrest warrant, Putin can still visit a number of major countries. Decision ICC to issue an arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin theoretically isolates the president from Russia. That's from 2/3 of the world. Even so, that still left a large number of countries that he could visit. The arrest warrants for Putin and Russia's Commissioner for Children's Rights are linked to the forced deportation of wartime children from Ukraine to Russia, where many have been adopted by Russian families. Forced deportations of residents is recognized as a crime under the Rome Statute, to which Russia was a signatory but withdrew in 2016. Since Moscow does not recognize the tribunal, it's unlikely that Putin or Lvova-Belova will be handed over to its jurisdiction. But it sends a signal to senior Russian officials that they may face prosecution and limit their ability to travel abroad, including to attend international forums. The director of the International Association for Justice at Human Rights Watch, Balkis Jarrah, said in a statement to Newsweek that the decision sends a clear message that giving orders to commit or tolerate serious crimes against civilians can lead to prison cells in The Hague. The ICC decision issued on Friday means that the tribunal's 123 member states must arrest the Russian president and transfer him to The Hague, Netherlands for trial if he sets foot on their territory. However, with 193 UN member states, there are still 70 countries that are not under the auspices of the ICC. The United States, just a moment.
We have the evidence. No one can dispute the evidence. We heard the evidence. We saw the evidence.
The United States participated in negotiations that led to the creation of the ICC, but in 1998, one was of 7 countries that voted against the Rome Statute, the treaty establishing the International Tribunal. So even the initial establishment of the tribunal was voted against by the United States. Again, contradictory to even propagate such ideas within the media if the United States doesn't hold itself accountable in the same ways. However, the U.S. sanctioned Putin on February 25, 2022, the day after he launched Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. All right, watch this space. We'll be back with more news.